I'm Baigent. I'm the City Councillor for Romsey. In particular, I think that the skills that I bring start at the beginning of my life. My father was a police officer, and so the whole time that I lived at home, which was until I was 20, I was living with the police service, because the police service is one of those organisations that invades private life as well as public life. A police officer is a police officer wherever they are, and they bring their work home with them, and their family live that sort of what they call the job. When I was 18, I joined the fire service and had a very successful career as a firefighter and fire officer. At that time, we were constantly rubbing shoulders with the police. The police and the fire service work very closely together at emergency incidents and in planning for them. The insight that you get through working with the police in this way is somewhat unique, because you're treated as an insider. And so you learn the way that police officers talk, the way they act, how they think about things. So you get a real inside working knowledge of how the police is. After I left the fire service, retired from the fire service after 30 years, I then went to university and did a first degree in sociology and politics. I was so taken with education that I stayed at university and did a PhD on uniform public services culture. The difficult thing for the police is that their culture is not as celebrated as that of the fire service. And I think if I take this role as police commissioner, I can bring a lot of the skills that I've learnt about the fire service and take them to the police and suggest how they may make their image more positive, because the firefighter is a celebrated role. Another thing the fire service offers me is that the fire service have been very involved in preventative work. The police don't have, or don't choose to have, sufficient time to actually carry out too much preventative work. Their job is seen as reactive. More emphasis could be put on the police as a preventative service. It's much better to stop a crime. It's much better to persuade people not to carry out a crime than it is to chase around after criminals and try and catch them. While sometimes crimes are solved by some very clever and skillful detective work, most crime is solved by talking to the public. The police, when they interview the public or when they receive information from the public, are able to use that information to find out who it is that perpetrated the crime. And it's surprising when you talk to people and you say, would you go to the police if you knew somebody was doing something criminal? And so many members of the public consider that's wrong to do. They don't recognise that when somebody's breaking the law, when they're stealing from people, when they're attacking people, when they're just generally making a nuisance of themselves, how much that actually feeds back into their own personal lives. So a big part of my role as Commissioner will be to improve relations with the public. Now, that is not just simple words, and it won't be a simple thing to do. It's something that will have to be proactively worked at. Within Cambridgeshire, we have a joint liaison at our East Area Committee, which is when the politicians for this part of Cambridgeshire meet together and talk with the police, with the public present, and try and set the targets or the important factors that are going to be taken on by the police. This works well, but it is only a very select few in the public that actually take part in this. I think this sort of liaison panel needs to be taken into those areas of high crime within Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. I think that it's important that we actually engage and the public actually recognise that the police service is there to help them and not something that they should be concerned about.